Hello, this is James Braithwaite at Braithwaite Physiotherapy, where we help you to move beautifully. And today we're going to talk about Thoracic Outlet Syndrome, which, despite its complicated sounding name, is a surprisingly common diagnosis. Well, what is it? Thoracic Outlet Syndrome is a compression of a bundle of nerves called the brachial plexus, or a couple of arteries, a couple of blood vessels, I should say, either the subclavian artery or vein, and those are important blood vessels for supplying circulation to your upper extremity. So those blood vessels or those nerve bundles can get compressed anywhere in the shoulder girdle. There's a few common sites of compression, and if you want to know some of the details about the minutiae of where those compressions take place, then check the link to the article that I've written below this video. There's a link that takes you to a blog article that gives you lots more details on this weird and wonderful condition. So it'll present with a bunch of varied symptoms that can include numbness or tingling down the arm. Sometimes if the blood vessels are compressed, there's swelling or discoloration. There can be weakness. So there's really quite a wide variety of symptoms that can present, which is kind of a bummer because it's difficult to decide where should we begin treating this. But the good news is that even though there's such a wide variety of symptoms and presentations, there are some common things that you can do at home or in the gym that will work for almost all cases. Over 90% of cases will be manageable at home or at the gym using simple tricks that you can do. So that's good news. So what are some of those tricks that you might try? Well, as with so many upper extremity conditions or orthopedic conditions in general, posture matters. So I've talked about posture on the blog here before, but let's go over it again. Again, this is about a compression of nerve bundles or blood vessels. So if we can decompress those things using better posture so they don't get gummed up between muscles or between bones, well, that's a huge win now, isn't it, right? So managing your posture like so, using the patented 3-point Braithwaite method, can help. So what is that? Well, first we want to set our shoulder blade. Common problem here with the shoulder blade is the shoulder blade will be winging or anteriorly tilted or depressed commonly. So managing your shoulder blade by first tucking in the base of your shoulder blade, right down here, the bottom tip of your shoulder blade, tucking that into your body with a rotation, not a retraction. We're not trying to sort of pinch a pencil between our shoulder blades here. It's a posterior tilt like this, right? And then making sure that we're not overly depressed, so we're not jamming our shoulders down. We should feel centralized, right? So as I anteriorly tilt, and then maybe I've flared my ribs out, so I'll contract my abdominals to tuck those back in as well, so tuck the ribs. I just want to make sure as well that I'm centralized. I should be able to depress a little bit from a good position, and I should be able to elevate a little bit from a good position. I should be able to retract a little bit or project a little bit. I shouldn't be at the end of any of those ranges. I should be centered, right? So I've tucked in my shoulder blades, I've tucked in my ribs, maybe I'll tuck in my chin for good measure to shine it on a little bit, and boom, right there I can get a huge win. I can get a huge win in just changing my ergonomics to help avoid compression of these nerve bundles or blood vessels. So that's thing number one. Try to focus on that. Pick a context in your life where you can practice, usually at your computer, or secondarily when you're texting. I always say texting is a good place to practice good posture. Get your phone here like this, tuck in your shoulder blade, tuck in your ribs, tuck in your chin, boom. You're texting like a pro. You're setting a good example for the rest of the world as well. So posture, work on your posture. Now here's a fun little trick. This often works, not always, but often. If you've got a lot of symptoms because of thoracic outlet syndrome, like numbness and tingling going down the arms, you can try when you're sitting at home just sort of chilling out watching TV or something like that, you can try just setting a couple of pillows underneath your arms, and that'll help to support your arms in a little bit of an unloaded, elevated position like this, so that you're not tensioning the muscles of your shoulder girdle in a shoulder girdle depression. So you just unload them into a little bit of elevation on these pillows like so. Try holding that for a minute. Sometimes you can get a little bit of a spike in symptoms when you do this, but then it should settle down to better than before. So give it a minute or 3 and see what happens. If you get a reduction in symptoms, then this can be a great relief position, not just for when you're watching TV at home, but also when you're typing at your computer. Get your keyboard close, your arms are supported on the pillows, and boom, look, you're at your computer, you can do this too. It's a great conversation starter at the office. why are those pillows in your lap? Well, you might say, and then you've got a whole good social discussion started around thoracic outlet syndrome, and who doesn't want to talk about that in the office, right? So there's a neat little relief position for you. Stretching, right? Pec minor and your scalene muscles. Both of those muscle groups do well with stretching when you've got thoracic outlet syndrome. There's details about those stretches in, again, the article that is linked in the description of this video below. So check that description for a link to the article that I've written around thoracic outlet syndrome, and you can check out details about how to do these stretches. But very briefly, taking an arm, placing it, wrapping around your head, and just doing a little bit of a side bend, like so. You can pop your hand in your back pocket like that, just to stretch on the downside of your shoulder girdle. So you've got a stretch here, you've got a stretch there, and that little side bend will stretch your scalene muscles. You don't need to go to Olympic depths here. We're not trying to set a new record with this stretch. 4 out of 10 stretch sensation, but hold it for a minute or two. And that as well, that should help to release your scalene muscles, and that can be extremely helpful. The second stretch you might want to consider doing is a pec minor stretch. 2 options for you. One, you can just lie down on the ground, like so. Take a little 1 pound ball and let your arm hang out to the side in an elevated position. So sort of if this is 90 degrees, 30 degrees again past that will help you to target your pec minor. And you can just hang out here like this, flat on the ground, for again 1 minute to 2 minutes. It's not about setting an Olympic record with attention. It is about time under tension. So a mild stretch sensation for a couple of minutes. Check this one out too. You can also do that same sort of stretch just by going into a doorway and elevating your arm up. It's not at 90 degrees. That's more of a pec major stretch. Pec minor you can access by elevating your arm a little bit higher, maybe 30 degrees past 90, and then just take 3 inches of step through your doorway, and boom, I can feel it right away. You're not trying to set an Olympic record with this, just a couple of minutes in that position, and you're all set. Okay, so there's 2 stretches that you can do that can be very helpful as well. Last but not least, you can sometimes get a beneficial effect from a tape job as well, and that's something that your physiotherapist, like me, can help you with. Taping can sometimes be helpful. It's not a permanent solution, but it can be a solution to help you manage symptoms in the short term. If you combine the stretching, some of those relief positions, and maybe the occasional tape job with some strength training at the gym to help support good posture, usually a combination of pulling type movements, rows, pull-ups, that type of thing that your physiotherapist can help you to zone in on, then these types of symptoms that are associated with thoracic outlet syndrome should be exceptionally manageable. So if that's something that you're dealing with, you might try some of the things that we've just talked about. Again, check out the article that I've linked in the description below for more details on all of this. If you have questions about thoracic outlet syndrome, or any of the stretches or treatments that we've just described, feel free to drop me a line at the clinic, via email, give me a call, we can talk about it. James Braithwaite of Braithwaite Physiotherapy, helping you to move beautifully.